Well, thank you so much for being here today. We are going to ask you some questions after we introduce you that have been previously submitted and compiled throughout the Whitehall district. We have voters on this Zoom call from Albemarle County and Nelson County. If there
Okay.
are voters from another county, please put that in the chat. We are going to You're going to have an opportunity to give us a 5 to 7 minute introduction, and Mary is going to be timing us, and she will turn her background red after you've spoken for 7 minutes. And so you'll know that you have about 30 seconds to wrap things up. In the
Okay.
questions that we ask, you'll have about 3 to 4 minutes to answer them, and Mary will have the same timing cue there. So at 4 minutes, Mary will turn her background red. If you can see Mary, can you see that background turn red? I think,
I
yeah,
do. Yep.
there it is.
Absolutely.
Okay, good. Now you know what
Perfect.
to look for. Our voters today are listening closely as they become aware of which candidate they would like to support, and they want to reach out to offer their time and energy and money because, as we know, Bob Good has raised over $500,000, and we want our Democratic candidate to have all of the energy going forward to be able to match that. The last 2 minutes of our time together, we will ask you to let us know what you need and how we can contact you and your campaign. And as you know, the primary for this race takes place on June the 18th, and early voting will be available starting May the 3rd. And Fern has already maybe put in the chat all the different ways to vote. There's mail-in voting, early voting, and voting on election day. So Paul is vying for its seat in Congress with a mission to foster unity around critical policy issues that impact every member of the district, regardless of party lines. With 35 years of dedicated service to his country, Paul stands out from the crowd. Throughout his extensive tenure, he honed the skills of conflict resolution, team building, and navigating difficult decisions with unwavering integrity, compassion, and empathy. As a lifelong Democrat, Paul's aspiration has always been to represent his community as an elected member of Congress. His candidacy is driven by a commitment to ensuring that every voice in the district is heard and represented in Congress. Let's welcome Paul as he introduces himself a little further to us.
Good evening, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. Awesome. Thank you for the short introduction. As you know, my name is Paul Riley. If I'm a little hoarse, it's because we were at a UVA meeting last night. So, and all that entails. Um, as was illustrated right there, I served 35 years in the government in some capacity or other, either as a enlisted soldier or an officer in the military intelligence corps for 21 plus years, 20 years active, 1 year reserve time. In addition, my wife and myself and my three children, we retired out of Germany in 2010 to Albemarle County, and we settled in Crozet, Virginia, and that's been our home ever since. It's our longest home since we were married, and we've been married for 32 plus years. And all of our children graduated from West Albemarle. We're steeped in the community. We were volunteer coaches for wrestling. We were active in the Booster Club for swimming and for wrestling. Our daughter was a swimmer for 4 years in Western when they won all the championships. Our two boys wrestled and played football, but predominantly wrestled for all 4 years for Western. Um, so we have ties, significant ties to the community, and my goal as your representative is to bring those ties and those concerns with me to Washington. We have a laundry list of things that this district needs to get done. For the last 3.5 years, our representative has not represented us very well at all. Uh, we pay that man $178,000 a year to do absolutely nothing but stand in the way as an obstacle to things that need to get done. President Biden's agenda is not finished, and we need to ensure that we take not only the Congress back, but the Senate and the White House to finish the stuff that he started, and in addition, add a few things that I personally think we need to do for education, for job growth, for women's rights, women's health, not just women's health, but health in general. We have a very rural district. The fifth district is very rural, and we lack some of the basic fundamentals that we need. And we have a poverty rate for children under the age of 18 of 18%, which in my mind is absolutely unacceptable. We have a graduation rate is far with the state of 89%, but our children are going to university is or even a 2 year college or technical school is at 33%. That's abysmal. Um, we have a need for broadband or wide high speed internet in our district. We're in the 21st century, 2024, and it's appalling that we don't have every house has fiber optic cable or internet in their house because that's what our children need going forward to make a difference in the world. Um, and inclusive of that, I firmly believe that we need to codify some of the laws that are currently waiting to be done in the Senate, like the Voting Rights, the Freedom to Vote Act, the John Lewis Voting Rights Act. I mean, these are all things that we need to, because our democracy right now, I think, is at a crossroads. And we need to take the road of truth versus the road of Trump and his lot. And we need to fix the things that are happening, not only in our district, but in our state and our country writ large. And I firmly believe, as your representative, as you guys well know, the fifth district is a very rural district. Demographically, it's about depends on what poll you're looking at or what census you're looking at. It's anywhere from 65 to 70% white, 13.3% black, and then a myriad of other races and ethnicities mixed in there. So it's a tough road to hoe. I realize that. And we had at the Democracy on Tap on Sunday. The young gentleman from UVA was pretty adamant that this district would only carry about 45% of the Democratic vote. And I took umbrage with that, and I kind of called him out a little bit. I think that I told him we're going to get 51%, and then we're going to exceed that by another 3%. We're going to take 54% of this district, and we're going to win this district. I truly believe that. It's going to take a lot of hard work and dedication on whomever gets out there, but whomever gets past the primary in June 18th is going to cannot be afraid to go out to the rural areas and to listen to what the people have to say, our fellow Americans. I mean, we're two sides of the same coin, people, and we need to realize that. And I understand that the other side sometimes gets a little bit dug in, but I think there's enough people now that have had it with what's going on in the gridlock in Washington. This do nothing Congress is the worst in history, and it's only getting worse. And the only way they try to keep it, they stay in power, is through shenanigans, gerrymandering and the stuff like that, stuff that you guys all know very well. So I think that by being elected, we can fix this. I can build bridges, I can build consensus, but at the same time, I was in the Army for 20 years. If there's an obstacle, sometimes you have to go over it, sometimes you have to go around it, and sometimes you just have to go right through it to get things done. So that's me in a nutshell. I did graduate from Florida State University for anybody out there who's interested. So I always have to throw that out there. Is a UVA stronghold here.
Good. Well, thank you so much. You have clearly explored why you're running for Congress and why this election year. I'm curious, though, you said that it's definitely going to be a tough road to hoe here in the fifth district, but you think you can get 54% of this district. We've had some top-rated candidates since Tom Perriello. None have won. What are you going to do differently?
Well, myself personally, I've already laid out a roadmap. I've already prepped the battlefield, as it were. I've reached out to the American Legion. I've reached out to the Disabled American Vets. I've reached out to the VFW, and it's on my to-do list to reach out to the local farmers associations in these different areas. And really, because you kind of take a page out of Amy Spanberger's way she's done things in the seventh district, especially with the farmers. She's turned that around. It used to be you go up there and you see farmers for Trump, which I don't understand, but she's turned that around and made it farmers for Spanberger. And the same thing here. Bob Good has a 0.03% rating amongst the farmers in our district, and I think that's a travesty. Little known fact, I grew up in upstate New York, much like this area. I'm in DC right now, but much like the fifth district. And my first job it was on a dairy farm, milking cows at 14 years old. So I know agriculture. I've been around it. All my uncles and stuff raised livestock and all this. I can talk agriculture. I know agricultural issues. I think that that's a very key component to turn some of these Trump from farmer signs that we see in our rural areas back into signs for Riley for farmers, or wherever you want to, or whomever it gets, that. But that's the road we need to go down. There, we need to peel off that center right, but leaning more towards the center. Those people are they need help, and they just don't realize they need help as much as they think, and they always think that the Republican side does them a better job, and they don't. Democrats have been proven time and time again to be better for the economy, better for the environment, and better for agriculture. So we just need to point that out and try to let let them hear reason.
So the fifth district is really large and
And gerrymandered.
gerrymandered, although not as gerrymandered as it used to be.
Yeah.
What campaign structure are you building to win, first of all, the primary, and then also hopefully the November 5th election?
So as I prefaced in a bunch of different meetings, I'm trying to eat this elephant one bite at a time. It's a large elephant, and so the main goal right now is to get on the to get enough signatures to get on the ballot, and then once we get on the ballot, then I'm slowly building a coalition of people. I've had a lot of people, a lot of people, both on the Republican side and the Democrat side, that are willing to volunteer and go out and do the things that need to be done. I have proxies that go out for me, and to good end too, because they can tell a story. Sometimes they give a little more personal side than I probably would. They're not as touchy feely as probably as some people would like, uh, but people do go out and they can tell a compelling story, and that's part of the demographic that I want to touch, get out there and touch and let people know the human side of this. Because it's not just a campaign to try to unseat Bob Good. This is a campaign for our rights and our freedoms, and we need to tell that story across the board. And my infrastructure is growing by the day, and I have people in the wings waiting. But I tell them just wait because we need to see. Like I said, we got to bite this elephant one bite at a time, eat this elephant one bite at a time. So,
How important to you is climate change?
oh my goodness, it's near and dear to my heart. I'm reading a book right now, The Ministry of the Future by Kim Stanley Robinson, and it climate change. You can look outside today; it's 77 degrees. March 14th. It's not a good look for us. If you read the scientists journals and stuff like that, the consensus is the Atlantic Ocean, the Gulf Stream is about ready to collapse, which would be catastrophic for our environment going forward. We're probably going to go into a La Nina period, and the hurricanes are going to get worse this year in the Atlantic Ocean. Uh, there are many, many things that we can do, and first and foremost is to reduce our carbon footprint in this world. We're one of the worst polluters, and then right behind us is England, Germany, China, and India. And we really need to get off the fossil fuels and look for alternative energies. And there's so much cutting edge technology out there. There are carbon dioxide machines that could provide clean energy jobs for our district, and they pull the CO2 out of the atmosphere and recycle it so it becomes a zero sum game. And I firmly believe that that's the way to approach some of this. Uh, but as I tell a lot of people, the warmest our climate, 130,000 years ago, our climate was this warm, and the woolly mammoths ruled the world, and they're not here anymore. And so I think that we really need to leave our planet in a better place that we found it. And that was kind of the theme with the younger voters last night. They need to get out, and because they're the ones that are going to inherit this mess, and they need to be cognizant of that and be out there and helping us fix it now, because it's only going to get worse, and we need to fix it now.
Yeah, speaking of the meeting that you had last night, a recent survey of students at the University of Virginia noted that Gaza was the #1 issue for young student Democrats at UVA. What is your position on that, and what should Congress do in response to that war?
So, coming from a military background, um, Israel, we can talk about Israel and their right to the area and all that stuff. But Israel is a sovereign state. It's been recognized by the UN since 1947. So they did have a right to defend themselves, especially against a terrorist organization of Hamas. There's no doubt. But unfortunately, they've taken it to the next level, and we are facing now a humanitarian crisis of one of which we have not seen in quite some time. It's funny that the Israelis would do this to a fellow human being after having what they endured in World War II themselves, and it's unfortunate. And if you guys are tracking the news today, Senator Chuck Schumer out of New York is calling for a resignation of Netanyahu and a new cabinet and a new parliament in there, and a two-state solution, which I wholeheartedly agree with. The Palestinians were there for 1,000 years, and what's happened to them is unfortunate. The Palestinians in this are the innocents. I get that there's still Hamas running, hiding in the hospitals and hiding in the tunnels and all that stuff, but you can't take a 500-pound bomb and stamp out an idea. It's not going to work that way. And every bomb that drops and every innocent that dies, it just creates more and more vitriol and hate, and it's going to be a self-repeat. It's like the Ouroboros, the snake eating its own tail. It's going to keep doing this over and over again, and that's the definition of insanity, frankly. So there definitely needs to be a change. Our Congress needs to step up, and quite frankly, although Israel is an ally of ours, I wouldn't say they're a friend. Um, they spy on us quite a bit, and we have some of their spies in our prisons. And so, having said that, we do need to make sure that they start doing the right thing, and maybe more precision strikes, and not kill all these innocent children, and let these innocent children and people starve to death. So I'm encouraged by the temporary port the U.S. is going to put in on the Gaza, and to get supplies and stuff in there. I think that's a step in the right direction. But and probably something needs to happen with the Middle Eastern states. They need to get involved and maybe have some kind of force patrolling the borders between the two, and try to calm this down.
We are also engaged in another war in Ukraine. What is your position here, and what should Congress do in response to this war?
Well, the first thing Congress needs to do is pass an AIDS package right now, and get that funding to Ukraine. We have to stop Putin in his tracks. Anybody who says otherwise is a Republican, because Putin is not a friend of ours. He's never been a friend of ours, and he will never be a friend of ours. And you can say that probably writ large of the Russian government. You guys are all old enough to realize the old Soviet Union and the things that went on with that. And so we need to stop, because he will not stop unless he's dead. And Putin will, if we back down now and he takes Ukraine, then he will continue on. He'll take Latvia back, he'll take Estonia back, he'll take Belarus back, and on it goes, to the point where he could throw us into another world war, either intentionally or unintentionally. And so I think it's imperative that Congress passes an aid package and get that money over there as quickly as possible, and get the munitions and the stuff into the hands of the Ukrainians, now, sooner rather than later.
Switching gears, coming a little bit closer to home, Charlottesville and Albemarle County have a housing crisis. What do you know about this, and how will you address it?
So yes, we are a microcosm of the U.S. economy at large. We do have a housing crisis, and affordable housing, and some of it, quite frankly, is based on our own county commissioners and stuff, and letting some of this happen. So there needs to be checks and balances in place to ensure that not only do they build, the $500,000 house, but they build, the $150,000 house right next door, so that people talk about property taxes and all this stuff, but we need to ensure that all our citizens are able to have affordable housing, and can live in a place that they can call home, as opposed to I've heard talk from I live in West Hall in Crozet, and I live by the trailer park, and people have frankly said we need to shut the trailer park down, and move them out. I'm like, why would you do that? Where would these hardworking individuals go? Where in Albemarle County, it's okay for them to go clean, inject, but they can't live in Albemarle County, and nobody ever has an answer for that. But I do think if I was elected to Congress, I really would like to introduce legislation to maybe cap some interest rates on maybe low income housing, I think, and give more grants for people for low income housing. Kind of like what I was thinking about for teachers too. You give a, I know we have FHA and Freddie Mae and Sally Mae and Freddie Mac and all those out there, but I don't think they quite go far enough sometimes to address what is endemic of our society. And and sometimes it's gentrification. You know, they'd rather tear that trailer park down and build, you know, 4 houses per acre, which is not the right answer either,
Right.
unless it's all affordable housing. And I know these guys are love to do that, but frankly, we need to probably start at the county and work our way up, because I think the county sometimes has been a little bit too lenient and letting some of the builders get away with some of the things that they're getting away with and not holding them to standard. And just you chop down a tree and you charge them $100 fine. Well, that's a tree that there's probably a $10,000 fine, but if you did that a couple of times, they'd probably stop doing it. And if you made them build the infrastructure and build the affordable housing, they would do it. You just got to hold them to the standard.
The Republican candidate will inevitably raise the issue of immigration. What do you feel like are the chief problems of immigration, and how will you talk about that in the 5th district over the coming months?
Yeah, it's funny he would do that because immigrants in this area, they thrive and they do well in the 5th district. But I know he would probably try to hijack the illegal immigrant population and stuff like that. And you know, we have the laws on the books. We just don't enforce them. They're there, and we don't enforce them. But I honestly believe that is we can flex the personnel down to the border and run these people through the process much more rapidly than we do now. We could have a task force of judges and a task force of immigration officers. You can put them on 90-day rotations or 120-day rotations, send them down to the border, process these immigrants as they come through, and quite frankly, give them a work visa. If it's a family coming through, they want to work. Give them a work visa, give them a social security number, put them in a system legally, and then come back and redress that. Give them a 5-year work permit, and then revisit 5 years. It's 2024, for goodness sakes. We have the technology to be able to properly get people into our immigration system, and we need to open the visa portal up. We've shut that visa portal down to where it's a million people a year or something like that, and there's 100 or 212 countries in the world that want to come to America, whether they're legal or illegal. And so to have that capped at that lower rate, especially when there's such a crisis in South and Central America. And that's another thing we need to do. We need more engaged with our State Department. They need to be down in those Latin American countries, trying to stem the flow and fight the population. I mean, Honduras and Nicaragua and El Salvador, Guatemala, their political unrest is steep, and it's run rampant with gangs in some places. But if we get down there and we can help them turn the corner on this and stop, the migrants from coming north, maybe for a little bit, then we could try to grasp and get a handle on this. But shutting the border down and building a fence is not going to work. These are time-proven methods. I have a good friend of mine who was a border patrol agent for 35 years, and it doesn't end. It won't stop. But we need to have comprehensive change with both sides. I mean, the Republicans, as you guys well know, with Trump telling them to stop the border package, they stopped it dead, and I think that would have been a good start, but it didn't even get to the vote. So that would be another thing to get going, is if we take all the chambers, is to pass some kind of common sense immigration reform now, sooner rather than later.
You've discussed your military background. What specifically about that, or in another part of your biography, gives you a special expertise that would be useful in the House of Representatives?
So over my 20 years in there and afterwards, I've been I was a commander 3 times. I was a platoon leader. I've been a leader of soldiers, good soldiers and bad soldiers. And you have to learn how to lead, not only with compassion and empathy, but sometimes with a stern hand. But you also have to be able to talk with individuals, like, and ask them why they did what they did, if they messed up. And I think I brought that to the bear. You know, the Army doesn't give you command for free. You have to earn it. And so I earned 3 of those, and I did, you know, over 48 months of command time. And then couple that with my time at the National Ground Intelligence Center as a program manager for a for national defense contract. I had to be a liaison a lot of times with not only our government but with foreign governments, and to smooth things over, or to be a bridge or conduit of information and conflict resolution, as you pointed out in the beginning. You have to do it with some kind of grace in diplomacy, but at the same time you have to be stern about it, and ensure that your point gets across, and you know they're not going to walk all over you, and let things continue on as they are. And so I think, you know, my background in that was stand me well in Congress, because I'm a consensus builder in the fact that I'll talk to anybody about anything, regardless of your party affiliation. You may not like it, and I may not like you, but you know, at least we can talk. You know, I think for too long, compromise has become a dirty word, but we really need to start communicating and collaborating with each other. And like I said before, if they don't want to do that, that's fine. Hear us out, and we'll figure a way to do it without them. I take umbrage with, you know, the fact that they call themselves the true patriots and all this stuff. They're not the true patriots. The Freedom Caucus is a misnomer. There's nothing free about that caucus at all. They want to take away freedoms, not give them. And their version of what America looked like is not the version that we all think America should look like.
Clearly, you are a leader, and every leader, in order to have a successful campaign, is going to have money to do it. How will you finance your campaign? And what are the
I,
obstacles for that?
what's that?
And what are the obstacles that you're facing for that?
I think so. Right now, I think there's been a lot of reticence in the fact that people are waiting to see if I get the signatures. Some people, I think, don't believe that I'm still running for Congress, which is kind of funny, but especially family and friends. But I've reached out to people that I know that are fundraisers, that will, like I said, they're kind of taking a wait and see approach. When I tell them I got, you know, the 1,200 plus signatures that I need to get on the ballot, even though it's 1,000, the money will start. The purse strings will start loosening up. I kind of want to take almost a grassroots approach to this. I know that may sound a little naive, but I think it kind of tightens my jaw when I hear about all the dirty money pouring into politics and all the corporations that are trying to buy their politicians and things like that. I really want to do it the grassroots way, you know, the $5 or $10 from everybody to build the coffers up to defeat Bob Good, or McGuire, or whomever it is that gets the nomination, you know. But yeah, the mechanisms are in place. We just got to pull the trigger when the time comes.
In this last couple of minutes, tell us what you need going forward and what is the best way to get in touch with you and your campaign.
Okay, well, I think, well, we're about 75, 80% on the signatures. So any signatures you guys want to throw my way will be greatly appreciative to get us over the hurdle of 1,000. Um, you know, I said I have the mechanisms in place to donate money, but if you go to the website, there's a donate page on there. If, you know, people want to donate, it's hard for a person to ask money, especially if you're not a politician, because you know it goes against our nature usually to ask for money, especially if you don't really need it. But we need it now to do the things that we want to do. As you guys well know, the filing fee is $3,500. So that is that's a tough one for some people. And so, you know, we got to get the filing fee in there and all that stuff. And then I think going forward, we'll just keep chugging along. I mean, that's all we can do. I mean, you know, keep putting one foot in front of the other, and keep going at it.
Well,
So,
thank you so much, Paul, for being willing to represent our 5th district and for running to make that happen. And thank you for coming today. The recording of this will be available on the Albemarle County Dem website. Early voting for this congressional primary begins on Friday, May the 3rd. And I believe that Fern has put all the information in the chat box about mail-in voting and for voting in person on primary day, which is June the 18th. So thank you so much, everybody. If you are whichever candidate you have decided to support, please reach out to them and give generously of your time and energy and money, as Paul has said.
And one more thing, if you guys send me an email, I will respond back to you. I promise you. So Paul Riley for Congress.com or my personal email. I think they're both on there. I will respond back to you. You can call me too. I'll text in. I'll talk to you.
Awesome. Thank you all so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.